Alright, you battlers and girls that PvP, welcome back again here to the GoStadium, and this is going to be our next installment for the Elite Trainer Playoff Series. Now, a basic introduction for the playoffs here. There are lots of towns that are basically identified as the leagues in the GoStadium lobbies. Each town represents one league. The previous first installment of the Elite Trainer Playoffs that we had was for the Pallet Town, and this next installment, so these two episodes are going to be for Viridian Playoffs. And then, you know, in the future there will be Pewter, so on and so forth. And currently the GoStadium is actually working on filling up the 14th town. So there's going to be a lot to look forward to. But again, each town and league, they all have their own seasons and playoffs between those seasons. The earliest towns like Pallet and Viridian, which we'll see here today, are already in Season 3, while the newest ones like New Bark and Cherry Grove, they're still in Season 1. Within those towns and the seasons, the Elite Trainer tier is the absolute highest, but only becomes active in Season 3 within that town or league and not before Season 3. So within those towns at the end of Season 2 and before the beginning of Season 3, they have these Elite Trainer playoffs. So in those Elite Trainer playoffs, the top ranked from Season 2 basically will fight for the Elite Trainer spot. So the winners will advance to Elite Trainer tier for Season 3 within that town, and the runners up respectively will be the one tier down, which is Gym, the second highest ranking. This will be the Viridian League Elite Trainer Playoffs, and there will be a total of 24 Elite Trainers in the Viridian League. 18 of them directly and automatically qualify for the Elite Trainer tier based on their previous performance and their history with their performance and victories and whatnot. But 6 of them have to go through these playoffs. These are the Elite Trainer Playoffs. There are going to be 6 different matches for the playoffs. To my knowledge, the only playoffs we're actually able to produce for this installment of the Elite Trainer Playoff Series, there's only going to be 2. The second one will be a surprise. It's going to be a very good one. But again, let's go ahead and get to the first episode for this 2-part installment of the Viridian Elite Trainer Playoffs. We will see Richie Beckett versus PolymersUp.
So it looks like we have a Melmetal versus a Registeel in the lead here. This matchup is like very bait dependent.
It goes straight for the superpower though with this Melmetal. That's interesting.
And good call on Polymer's side to shield, and at this point Richie's basically forced to swap out because the superpower debuffs attack and defense, I believe. And then we have a pretty safe swap into a Azumarill here. PolymersUp doesn't have a great counter swap really, so he opts to stay in for now.
It can be kind of tough for Azumarill to keep up with the flash cannons though. You know, Lock-On's just amazing, but I think it's not a terrible idea that he's not using his shields. He's just taking the damage from the Registeel.
Well, I mean, he already burned one shield blocking that superpower, and so he doesn't really want to go down by 2 shields.
Yeah.
So I think that's the big reason he didn't block.
I think he's aiming for a bubble down at this point. I mean, he'll have a lot of energy, but you know, with how much he's already taken at this point in the very beginning, I feel like he's kind of in the hole. He's got to dig himself out.
Yeah, and bringing on Polymer's side, bringing the Azumarill in is a really good play, because Azumarill does resist the Ice Beam in the Hydro Pump, and so he's able to kind of dispel that energy a little bit, just kind of soak it up because it's not doing that much damage really.
I don't think it'd make much of a difference that he even got the second Ice Beam, unfortunately.
Oh, and interesting. So PolymersUp is running a Play Rough and Hydro Pump on his Azumarill. So no Ice Beam, electing to run Play Rough to have that better mirror match. Lands that Hydro Pump is huge. And now swapping into Altaria. Obviously Melmetal is a good counter swap. But Altaria can still do some decent damage with just like Dragon Breath and Sky Attack, because Melmetal's not like that tanky compared to like a Registeel or a Bastiodon or something.
Yeah, for sure. Melmetal's pretty squishy, but I mean, at least it's still good that he saved it for this play. I don't necessarily feel it was, you know, safe to open with it and to throw superpower right away, but it's worked out so far.
So not as great of a Azumarill matchup for the Melmetal as we're traditionally accustomed to, just because Melmetal doesn't have that Thunderbolt anymore. But at this point, you know, Rockside is doing decent enough damage, especially considering how low the Azumarill is. And Azumarill forced to throw a play rough here and reveal his moveset just because it's cheaper in energy. And at this point, Azumarill's just so low. And RichieBecket's able to come in and get that Sludge Wave, I believe it is, for a well-played game 1. Are those acid spray?
Yeah, it was acid spray. Acid spray for the W in game 1 into Azumarill.
Azumarill versus Altaria lead. This is fairly favorable for Polymers, but without the Ice Beam, it's definitely a little bit closer. And so, interesting play. Richie swaps into Azumarill, and Polymers makes a counter swap to Alolan Raichu, but he does switch a little bit slow. And so he's almost immediately taking an Ice Beam at that point. Does some decent Volt Switch damage, charges up a decent amount of energy before firing off this Thunder Punch.
It's kind of a nice play, actually, coming with the Alolan Raichu. I mean, taking that Ice Beam sucks, but again, you know, with Volt Switch, it's just going to generate that so fast, and he has that back-to-back Thunder Punch, which, given that, I think it was a good thing they just lost the matchup, maybe, and didn't use shields.
And also, you know, he knows that Altaria is coming back in, so, you know, if his Raichu has minimal health, then it'll just die very quickly as opposed to getting farmed.
True. Oh, we see
so,
the Venusaur. That was quick.
Richie swapped
very quick.
Yeah, he swapped into that Venusaur hoping to catch the play rough, but Polymers kind of saw through that and quickly counter swaps, bringing in Reggie here. So Polymers seems like he's in a pretty positive spot at this point. You know, Reggie and Azumarill left to deal with this Venusaur and Altaria. And he has 2 shields still. And Frenzy Plant actually does a decent amount of damage to Reggie, even though it's resisted. But you know, still having 2 shields at this point, as long as Polymers basically ensures that his Reggie doesn't go down, he should be fine.
Someone's used a shield now at this point. They both have saved both shields until now.
And so again, just they're both very quick with the switches and the counter swaps. And Polymers Up is able to land that play rough. Is forced to shield this Sky Attack. And it'll be interesting to see. I expect Richie might let this go so that Venusaur can try to farm the Azumarill. Oh, he actually shields it. Okay.
I mean, I guess because he's so close to this point. Yeah.
So close to the Sky Attack. Ooh, and Polymers Up lets that go. His Reggie doesn't have that much health left. Oh man! Dragon Breath. I think, yeah, that no shield. I think if he shields the Sky Attack there, he'd have a better chance. His Reggie just, I think his plan was he thought his Reggie could take out both, but it just didn't have enough health.
Game 3, what's it gonna be?
Venusaur versus Sableye in the lead. This is an interesting one. It's a pretty close matchup, so it'll be interesting to see if either of them elects to switch out. And so Richie does swap into the Azumarill. Here we have what we talked about.
Mirror,
yeah, Polymers being comfortable switching into the Azumarill mirror because he knows the movesets now. He knows that he has the better moveset here, and so he's okay to make that switch even a little bit late.
Yeah, it's really not advantageous at all for an Azumarill with the Ice Beam Hydro Pump. I mean, the Hydro Pump will still do a little bit of damage, but just the amount of energy it takes to get there really puts you in a bad spot. And I would be really shocked if we even saw a shield here, whether it's Ice Beam or Hydro Pump. I don't know that I would shield with the defending Azumarill.
And yeah, so Polymers is just going straight play roughs here. Interesting. Richie double shields at this point, so he's really committed to saving his Azumarill. But great, perfectly timed swap by Polymers Up to bring in the Reggie in order to tank that Frenzy Plant. And then at this point, Polymers Up is in a pretty good spot because he has a 2-0 shield advantage. And he's got this Venusaur switch locked against the Reggie.
I think we'll see
this point,
Frenzy
Reggie
Plant shielded this time.
I don't think so. I think he's going to let it go. Maybe he'll shield the next one, but at this point he can just farm down with a lock on, I think.
Can he? Oh, that was close.
Oh, that was close. He's going to have to shield this one, though.
Venusaur, 1 HP boss.
But, you know, at this point, he has a full flash cannon ready to go. Or, I mean, a full focus blast ready to go, actually. So Azumarill comes in, and, ooh, this is a tough shield call. He shields the Ice Beam. Definitely tough. Oh, and Richie times that switch perfectly in order to tank the flash cannon on his Melmetal.
That was good. That was a very good
now
switch.
we have just an immediate swap by PolymersUp into the Sableye. Already has a foul play ready to go, and because Melmetal's so squishy, it's almost dead at this point. Is able to land that Rock Slide. Shields are down now, but I don't think it's gonna quite KO this Sableye. So at this point, Sableye Shadow Claw's down, and he just goes straight for the foul play. I think he probably could have gotten to a Power Gem there, but I think he's just playing it safe. Unfortunately, his switch clock is not up yet, but he does get to another foul play, and I think 2 foul plays is better than 1 Power Gem here, so probably made the right call. Azumarill does farm down the bubble. It'll be interesting to see what PolymersUp decides to bring in here. He's just waiting up the switch clock, really.
I don't even think a Hydro Pump would KO at this range, would it? Does he hang
I think it might
bit?
take it out. I think it might take it out.
Oh, man.
It's pretty low, but at this point, the Reggie's just going to win that race for the charge move. Gets off the flash cannon, so that's a GG game 3.
Yeah, he kind of had to go for the Hydro Pump. That's why he came in with the Azumarill. Oh, man.
All right, so game 4, we have Registeel versus Azumarill in the lead. Richie is going to be favored here because he's carrying that Hydro Pump Azumarill, but it'll be interesting to see if they both just, you know, play it out, or if either of them elects to switch at some point.
Yeah. The flash cannons, though, I mean, is it? I don't know if it necessarily is, but it feels, at least sometimes to me, it kind of feels like a bait-dependent matchup. You know, you basically want to go straight Hydro Pump every time, and again, you know, it's hard to keep up with the lock-on flash cannon combo from a Registeel.
Definitely, yeah. Lock-on just charges so quickly, but Azumarill's tanky enough that it can usually tank, like, if it's at full health, I think it can tank like 2 flash cannons. You see, that's the second flash cannon he's taken. Obviously, he's almost dead now, but oh, and PolymersUp opting to spend that second shield, conserve this Registeel, and farm down with lock-ons.
Well, he's got some energy going now here, which looks like with what's left, it's a good thing he saved his Registeel, man.
And so going just straight for the Focus Blast, he is able to force that final shield, and it looks like he's looking to switch out at this point. So he swaps into the Azumarill, and we have a counter swap by a Alolan Muck here. He's going straight for the Hydro Pump. Hydro Pump is the best damaging option here. Probably thinking he can get it real low, and then worst case just farm down with Altaria if needed.
Interesting, he came in to answer the Melmetal with his Azumarill too. You know, because like,
well, the thing is, he knows
the default combo nowadays is to go Thundershock, Rock Slide, Superpower.
Yeah, I mean, he knows Melmetal's not running Thunderbolt, so he's not really that scared of Melmetal anymore.
Takes the Rock Slide. The Azumarill is out of here. Oh man. Well, he kind of does force the superpower at this point, but with shields
he forces
down.
the superpower, and he knows that superpower debuffs, right? So now this Melmetal's weakened, and Richie can't swap out anymore.
That was smart. Debuff yourself. Use the energy on the Registeel, then Altaria will come in and be Altaria.
Right, because now that Melmetal's debuff, that Rock Slide didn't do hardly as much damage as it normally does. And so, you know, PolymersUp is now able to just go straight for that Dragon Pulse, which should, barely doesn't KO, but again, because it's debuffed, just the Dragon Breath damage plus that Dragon Pulse was enough to take it out. Alright, so we have Registeel versus a Venusaur in the lead here. This is a favorable lead for PolymersUp. And So it looks like Richie elects to switch into the Azumarill, and PolymersUp fires off that Flash Cannon, which is an interesting choice. It'll be interesting to see if he regrets not having that energy later or not.
He's never shielded him up to this point, so I think he wants that extra damage. But I mean, yeah, you know, maybe he didn't need to because he comes in and answers with his own Azumarill for the counter, so that does seem kind of interesting that he used the energy.
So yet again, we see this Azumarill mirror. I think PolymersUp will probably be able to just faint down with bubbles at this point. He will be forced to tank this Hydro Pump. Again, no shield, which makes a lot of sense. But oh man, Richie's able to time that switch. He tanks the play rough. And
I thought he would have thrown energy sooner. See, I mean, he's probably just dedicating to a Vine Whip down. But I mean, again, he knows that the opposing Azumarill doesn't have the Ice Beam. So, you know, with them even throwing the play roughs, he's just trying to farm, I guess.
It was interesting though, because PolymersUp, he had his switch timer was up, so he could have swapped out and saved the Azumarill. Does elect to come in with Altaria, which is the better choice here because he knows that Azumarill is still out there. Sludge Bomb does hurt quite a bit though.
Maybe that's why he saved the energy. He's probably trying to but trying to work on their shield management a little bit. Almost feels like mind games, but here we come with this Melmetal versus Registeel matchup again. We see a shield, which I would expect. Oh, oh, but he threw the Flash Cannon though. Did you caught that, right?
Yeah, but is that going to be enough? Because, you know, Richie now has, you know, the Melmetal's not debuffed anymore. Oh, and he throws the Rock Slide to get that last shield. Oh, and then goes for the superpower. Oh man, he sneaks in that second charge move before Reggie gets to something. But at this point, you know, Richie still has 2 shields left. And so PolymersUp makes that switch, and oh, he just I think that was a CMP tie potentially. Oh man, he just barely doesn't get that Sky Attack off.
I mean, even with the shield on the Melmetal, I mean, if he had gotten the Sky Attack, it's pretty much GG's. It's game.
Yeah, really good. You know, great switching by Richie. I still wonder what would have happened if, you know, if PolymersUp had been able to, or had switched out of that Azumarill versus Venusaur and saved the Azu. And also, if it maybe would have played out differently if he had saved that energy on the Reggie and not thrown the Flash Cannon against Azu. If that energy later maybe would have been more helpful.